Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of CNB Bazaar Buzz. I'm Siddharth Vinayak Partnkar and we've got an action-packed lineup for you. Let's show you what we're bringing you on today's show. The BMW G310 GS, the full road review. How does that GS stand up to the Royal Enfield Himalayan? We have that comparison for you as well. And the facelifted Hyundai Tucson and the brand new Hyundai Kona. We size them up for the Indian market. So first up, let's start with the new BMW G310 GS. Now, I say new because it's still relatively new, though BMW claims to have been sold out with those bikes, both the R and the GS. And of course, it gives you the first step into BMW territory when it comes to motorrad. But it also gives you the first step into BMW's adventure touring with the GS, and which is why it's proving to be quite popular. Here is the full road test, because up till now we just showed you our first ride review. This is how it really handles in everyday conditions.
The BMW G310 GS is the smallest and the most affordable GS model. But does it do enough to further the reputation of the famous GS badge on BMW motorcycles? Let's find out.
The BMW G310 GS is a stepping stone in the company's illustrious GS range of adventure motorcycles. It shares its engine and other components with the BMW G310R, but this is not exactly an out-and-out off-road motorcycle. It definitely looks the part though. I really like how it looks. Now let's see how it rides.
Well, as far as looks are concerned, it definitely is a baby GS. Tall stance, muscular tank, typical beak-like protrusion of the front mudguard, and those bold GS lettering on the fuel tank give the bike good road presence. The front end in particular looks good with that angular headlamp and the 19-inch Mezzolan Tourance dual-purpose tire and the 41mm gold upside-down forks. So it definitely looks the part of a typical ADV. The quality is undeniably good and is something that you would expect on a BMW. It gets a fully digital LCD screen and the switchgear is backlit too. The front wheel gets a 300mm disc while the rear wheel gets a 240mm disc. And there's dual channel ABS on offer as well. For those who like to go touring, there is a nice luggage rack at the rear. ABS on the rear wheel can be disengaged if need be.
This is a motorcycle that you'll love riding on the highway and on broken tarmac. There is solid torque in the mid-range and the top end is pretty good. The suspension is really planned and it soaks up all the undulations without a care in the world. The little grouse that we have is the low end. This is a motorcycle that needs you to keep working the gears and the throttle. So riding this in peak traffic might not be such a pleasant experience.
It gets the same 313cc single-cylinder engine as the G310R, making 34 brake horsepower and 28 Newton meters of peak torque. It will happily cruise at 100 to 120 km per hour all day long without missing a beat. The 6-speed gearbox is not exactly butter smooth, but it works well. The 310 GS is not exactly an off-road motorcycle. Sure, the bike can take on mild trails, but anything more than that will be risking it. The alloy wheels will definitely not be able to take the kind of beating that wide-spoke wheels can. And the plastic bash plate under the engine too is not meant to take big blows. The other thing that goes against it is the low set handlebar. If you're sitting and riding, The handlebar position is fine, but if you are standing up, it is not quite comfortable. Plus, there is a fair bit of dive up front should you grab a fistful of brakes. On gravel and dirt, the front end might feel a little twitchy and may not offer enough confidence. The BMW G310 GS offers good performance on the road, be it smooth or broken. It is also game for mild off-roading and light trail riding, but anything more extreme, you might want to look at other options. And at 3,49,000 rupees ex-showroom Delhi, it doesn't quite fall in the realm of affordable. But if you do end up having the G310 GS in your garage, you get the bragging rights of owning a Beamer, which is a pretty cool thing in itself.
So how does the GS measure up to its competition? Well, there isn't really an absolute like bike in the market, and so the nearest you'll really get to is the Royal Enfield Himalayan. Now, don't roll your eyes, because I know you're going to say, hang on, they're priced very differently. That is true, but in terms of application, well, they are quite similar. And to a buyer who's looking to spend that kind of money, well, these are the two bikes to consider for sure. And so we had to pit them against each other. Take a look.
Two adventure bikes, both promising a lot of capability. One is the smallest member of the BMW GS family, the BMW G310 GS, and the other is the only dual-purpose adventure bike from Royal Enfield, the Himalayan. Both have been designed for touring, but there's a lot of difference in how they are designed, how they perform, and how they are priced.
Now, if you're looking for a two-wheel adventure, you have several options in the market right now. Globally, adventure motorcycles have been very popular over the past couple of years, and in India too, these bikes have picked up really well. There are a lot of options in the market right now. But if you're looking at the entry-level adventure segment, these two bikes quite cut it. That's a Royal Enfield Himalayan. It's been around for a while, but now it gets fuel injection and ABS as well. And this one is the smallest member of the BMW GS family. You get entry into the coveted GS family, yes, but this one comes with a slight premium. In fact, the price difference between these two bikes is almost double. This one is about 1.7 lakh ex-showroom, and this one is about almost 3.5 lakh ex-showroom. But despite the price difference, what do these bikes offer in terms of capability and in terms of a true blue adventure if you're looking for a two-wheel adventure? That's what we're going to find out.
On the move, it is immediately apparent that it's the GS which offers more spirited performance. Long as you keep working the 6-speed gearbox and keep the motor spinning upwards of 4,500 RPM, the GS can be entertaining to ride. Out of the highway, it will cruise comfortably at 120 km per hour. Although there are some vibes felt at high revs on the foot pegs, fuel tank and the handlebar. But what the GS lacks is low-end grunt, and that means you have to constantly work the gearbox in traffic. The Himalayan now gets fuel injected and throttle response is crisper than before. It also makes less power than the GS, and the engine's character is typical of Royal Enfield singles. As long as you're not in a tearing hurry to get anywhere, the Himalayan will chug along nonchalantly, and yes, it can hit 130 km per hour top speed, but the engine is not happy at high revs. 90 to 100 km per hour is where the Himalayan's sweet spot is, and it will happily maintain that speed over a day's ride. But where the Himalayan excels is in the way the 411cc engine delivers its torque in the low and mid-range. And pulling power is what is required when you're traversing difficult terrain.
Now, both these bikes are adventure tourers, yes, but these are not hardcore off-road bikes. What the Himalayan offers is more torque low in the revs. What that means in the real world is you don't have to rev it too much to make the bike pull, but that one makes more power, so it's got a higher top end. So you can cruise comfortably at 120, 130 kilometers per hour, but the Himalayan is happiest at around 100, 110 kilometers per hour. But this one gets more travel on the suspension, on the front suspension, 200 mm. That one gets 180 mm on both suspension. And this one gets a larger 21-inch spoked wheel. So if we're going through rough patches, off-road, think about Ladakh, places like Spiti, this one is more suited for that kind of riding. But if you're looking at mostly tarmac riding, long distances over tarmac, that one's got a better top end and that one is more comfortable to ride as well.
The GS is also the better built bike and it follows typical BMW GS styling. So there's that typical adventure beak, dual tone GS colors, and the gold colored upside down front fork adds to the quality, fit and finish of the bike. There's 220 millimeters of ground clearance with a standard engine bash plate, although it's made of plastic. The suspension has 180 millimeters of travel at both ends, and there's a 19-inch front wheel. Although the alloy wheels with the adventure spec Metzeler Tourins offer decent grip, they have their limitations over loose surfaces. And the GS also gets standard dual channel ABS, and ABS for the rear wheel can be disengaged for off-road duty. The Himalayan on the other hand has rudimentary styling. It's simple, utilitarian and looks like it's meant to take on the rough, with enough space to hook up luggage and other essentials for an adventure. The Himalayan also gets 220 millimeters of ground clearance, but it gets a larger 21-inch front wheel. Although the front fork is non-adjustable, there's more suspension travel and the wheels are spoked with tube tires. So yes, they are more suited for riding over hard terrain, but then no tubeless tires. The Himalayan also gets ABS now, but it cannot be switched off.
Now picking a clear winner between these two bikes isn't so simple because there's a huge difference in pricing. But if price isn't the consideration, it'll also depend on the kind of riding you do. If you're looking at mostly trail riding or off-road riding, think about Ladakh, Spiti, over rocky roads, broken roads. The Himalayan can take that kind of beating. It's more affordable, cheaper to maintain and cheaper to repair as well. But if you're looking at mostly tarmac riding, long distance riding even, the GS is better suited for that. It's got better cruising ability, it's better built, looks better, and of course you get bragging rights of being the owner of a BMW GS, but all that comes at the cost of almost 2 Himalayans.
The GS offers an entry ticket into the world of BMW GS, but at nearly 3.5 lakh rupees ex-showroom, it is an expensive proposition for an entry-level adventure bike. Despite its quality, styling and finish, it's difficult to justify the price tag the baby GS carries. On the other hand, the Himalayan may not be performance-oriented, but it does everything expected from it quite capably. And with that price tag and easy accessibility, it's our pick in this comparison.
It is time for a short break here on Bazaar Buzz. We show you the latest from Hyundai on the other side. Welcome back to CNB Bazaar Buzz. Lots of excitement being generated by Hyundai of late, but this year it's going to be all about the SUVs. Lots of talk about the Stix. That's the subcompact SUV that's coming to rival the Vitara Brezza and the Tata Nexon. But after that, the action will further shift to the electric Kona, and then you'll have the facelift on the mid-sizer, the Tucson. But what about that Kona and Tucson? Well, I'll tell you what, we've had the chance to drive them, and the facelift on the Tucson looks pretty credible. The car looks a little more mature, looks bigger, it looks more SUV-like. And then you've also got the Kona, which is generating so much attention all over the world. Yes, we'll get the electric one, but I feel we should get this one too. The Hyundai Kona compact SUV has been a major strategic model for the Korean car maker globally, more so in the European context. With the Kona, Hyundai has taken a small leap yet again, like it did with its fluidic sculpture Sonata in 2010. I mean that not only in terms of quality and design, but also perception. Yes, the Kona is that model for Hyundai. The Kona is actually 104mm shorter than the Creta in length, has a near identical wheelbase at 2600mm and sits lower since it's 116mm shorter than the Creta. So it is very definitely more of a crossover. The car's design is the first thing that grabs you. Now the color of course works for me, but I have to say it also works for the segment, because that's what the Kona is trying to do. It's trying to be young, modern and new, and these bright colors kind of offset some of that nicely. The big cascade grille, the really slim LED headlamp and very exaggerated elements down here. I think that's the whole point of the new styling from Hyundai. You're going to see it on its future cars. You've already got it on the new Santa Fe that's been released just a little while ago. Now the other point here, not too many other manufacturers have yet caught on to the trend, even though everybody's talking about it, and so it helps the Kona really stand out in the crowd. The car I had was dressed in lime twist, and it looked very young, vibrant, new and attention hungry. The Kona has a color coordinated interior. The car's cabin is well laid out, uses great plastics and boasts incredibly competent fit. Its big highlight is the modern instrument cluster and the large touchscreen at the center of the console. Easy to use, intuitive and with a very user-friendly interface, unlike the Hyundais we've been used to. The screen has Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Bluetooth Music Play, etc. You also get a pop-up head-up display screen a la Mini. The switches, buttons, stalks and dials all have a good sense of quality, and the seats too are well contoured, comfortable and attractively finished. I like the little green accents on the dash and seats, and especially the ones around the AC vents. The Kona with me was a Turkey spec model, and I was driving it out of Istanbul into the countryside towards Burj Beach. The engine on board was the 1.6-litre TGDI petrol, a new iteration of the 1.6 Gamma engine in Hyundai's turbocharged global engine lineup. It's not a fire starter, and the turbo does take a little bit of time to kick in, but it cruises very well. So you've seen the specs of the car I'm driving, and I can very quickly tell you that it's all academic, because of course this car in this shape and form is not going to come to our market. What I mean by that is that we're only going to get the electric Kona. The electric avatar of this car is all we're going to get. So I can talk about its attributes in terms of the way the ride feels, or of course the shape and size and the cabin itself, but even that's kind of indicative of what the electric will bring us. Still nice to finally get a chance to get a feel of this subcompact SUV here in the European market. The new 7-speed DCT dual-clutch gearbox works well, though it can be a bit slow on the quick downshift in comfort mode. So as is typical of many cars these days, the Kona has the eco, the comfort and the sport drive modes, and as is typical of me and very cliched of all of us testing cars, I'm pretty much staying in sport mode. The Kona's ride quality is good and it handles very car-like since it's not a tall SUV to begin with. The Kona also corners reasonably well and its road driving manners are actually pretty impressive. All-wheel drive is optional and you can also go with the standard 16 wheels or opt for the 17 or 18 inches. Now there's an upside for Hyundai in letting us drive this car today, and that is just a nice display of everything that's latest from the brand in terms of engineering, design and just overall attributes, material quality. So like I said, that's an upside for the company. The downside, I don't want the Creta anymore, I want this car. Big downside. But given the Creta's massive popularity and the fact that the next generation has already gone into development, expecting the Kona in India is futile. Sad really, since it's such a surprising, sharp and sexy package overall. While I was in Turkey, I also got my hands on this. The facelifted Tucson compact SUV. The car was showcased at the New York Auto Show in April and has been slowly making its way into markets worldwide. Turkey just got it last week. The car gets more road presence with sharper angular headlamps and DRLs. The wider cascade grille, a revised set of bumpers and new fog lamps as well. The rear gets new tail lights and the reflectors have been moved up into the tailgate. Overall, the changes make the car appear bigger and more SUV-like while retaining its style and good looks. Inside, the central console gets an overhaul with that new floating touch screen similar to the one I showed you on the Kona. The air vents have also been moved out and the dash is well finished, slimmer and very sophisticated now. The plastic quality is very much improved too. There's also a revised instrument cluster and an electronic parking brake thrown into the mix. While Hyundai has confirmed it will definitely get to us, expect the Tucson facelift in India only in the second half of 2019. Well, that is a wrap on CNB Bazaar Buzz. Please tell us how you like the show. Keep your feedback coming. Keep any questions you have also coming. You know you can reach us at carandbike.com. That's also where you get all our latest reviews, all the videos, everything on carandbike.com and all our product pages too. So, I will see you next week. Please wear your seatbelts. Bye-bye.